Pia from Stitches and Scraps. Welcome to Lunchtime Live. It is Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. So this one's going to be a short one. I don't have that much to share. My new dog bed pattern came out. It is available on my site, and obviously it's too big for me to bring here and show you, but it's got a fur top and just a plain double crochet on the sides and back with a little flap at the back so that you can take the insert out and put it back in. And it's made with project foam from Fairfield, which they gave me for the pattern. So it's a big, like, I want to say it was 24 inches wide by 36 inches long, and 5 or 5.5 inches deep, rectangle bed. So it's really soft and cushy with that foam and some batting around it as well. Really great bed. My dog loves it. So check that one out. The other thing that's new on the blog is the new Scrappy Stitchers link party is up. That went up on Monday. So if you're not familiar with that by now, that is basically an online show and tell. So I want to see all the projects you've made. Go ahead and post anything that you've made. It doesn't have to be like a pattern you've designed or anything like that. You can just post your shot from Instagram or Ravelry or wherever you have a picture. Just post a link to that and look at this thing I made, and that's all it is. And then everybody can vote on their favorites. And at the end of the month, we share, well, at the beginning of the next month, we'll share who was most clicked last month. So it's just a fun little show and tell, basically, online. So check that out. Even if you're not submitting anything, be sure to vote for your favorites. And that is, if you are submitting something, you have a better chance of getting more votes if you submit it early in the month. So try and get your posts up as quickly as you can on that. And as always, I'll have all the links in the comments on the video if you're watching on Facebook, and in the description if you're watching on YouTube. Now, I want to see real quick who is watching, because I have a surprise for Beth, and Beth always watches me on these videos, so I want to see real quick if she's watching me. Let me pop over to YouTube and see. Let's see. Beth, are you here? Say hi if you're here. I have a surprise for you. I'm not seeing anything on YouTube. Let's see on Facebook. She usually watches me on YouTube, but she might be on Facebook today. All right, well, I don't see you, Beth, but if you are here, this is a surprise for you. You asked me for something. You asked me to make it before Christmas, and I did. Here is the Penguin Amigurumi. This is Playful, the baby penguin, and the pattern's not out yet. Here, let me show you a little side view. She's got this little beak. I love the little beak. The beak was the funnest part. I use the word funnest, my mom would kill me. The beak was the most fun part. And then it's got just a tiny bit of back stitching here underneath the head as well. But anyway, this pattern is not coming out this week. It's coming out next week for a cal, a crochet along. So it'll be out, well, I wrote it down. Let me see. I want to say Wednesday of next week. Yeah, Wednesday the 14th. Is when this pattern will be out. And I went with a penguin, Beth, because you asked. So that pattern's coming out next week. And then also next week, after my Lunchtime Live, I have another event right at 12. So I'm going to keep it really short, or I may even start a few minutes early just so that I can sign off and get signed on for the other event. It's just an online conference thing that I'm going to. So that's all of the housekeeping, and now we can go into our demo. This time we are doing Intarsia colorwork. Before we did, I showed you, let's see, why isn't this popping out? Here we go, enlarge. Okay, so before I showed you tapestry and Fair Isle, and this was my sample that I did for my class earlier with tapestry crochet here and Fair Isle crochet here. Both of these techniques, the thing that both of these techniques have in common is that they involve carrying all of the yarns you're using across the whole length of the piece as you go back and forth. Now, that means that if you're using more than 2 or 3 colors, your piece is going to get thick, or it's going to have a lot of these floats on the back. So tapestry and farrell are limited by the fact that every color you add adds bulk to your project. Today we're going to do Intarsia, which is probably the most common colorwork technique. It's the one everybody seems to learn first. I also happen to think it's the hardest because you have all of these different pieces of yarn to work with. But it has the benefit that you can use as many colors as you want. You could use 1,000 colors if you wanted to, and it doesn't add any bulk because you're not carrying the colors back and forth through your piece, okay? I'm exaggerating saying 1,000. That would add bulk just because of all the ends you have to weave in. But the problem with Intarsia is, first of all, every single section, and this is what makes it Intarsia, every single section of color has to have its own ball of yarn. So these 2 greens, even if they were the same shade of green, I would have a separate ball for each one because you never carry the color across, so you need a separate ball every time you need to pick up that color. And traditionally, without any fancy stitching, Intarsia has these tiny little floats that go up from row to row wherever you move the color. So like this, I did a diamond here so you could see that the blue is going this way, and every time it goes this way, you get this little float where the yarn was here, but I pulled it up to here, right? Now, I say that's in traditional Intarsia because there is a fun technique. It's actually a series of techniques that Lorinda Reddig actually developed and wrote down, and she's got an amazing class on this. She calls it Reversible Intarsia. She does it with half double crochet and with double crochet, and I'll put the link on there so you can go see. I think she has the tutorials for the half double crochets just available for free online, and then double crochets in her book. But anyway, she's got a whole page about it, and the basic gist of it is moving the yarn to where you want it to be before you have to pick it up, and then where to place it and how to hide it so that it gets caught up in the stitches and hidden. And it's a series of different tips that when you put it all together, your back looks just like the front, and it's completely reversible. And I think that it's fantastic. It would be, first of all, not my place, but also way too long to try to explain all the different tips and all the different scenarios here. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just doing this straight out Intarsia. This is the way most people do graphgans. Somebody had asked about that last week. Tapestry is fine for a graphgan, but Intarsia is the way most people do it because it keeps the flexibility of the fabric. So let's do a row. I'm actually working back into decreasing on this diamond, and I'm on a wrong side row. So I'm going to work my first few stitches in this green color. And you can see I'm not carrying anything. There's no other yarn messing with me right here. I'm going to go 1 stitch further into the blue color because I want to decrease the blue. Okay. Now remember, when you change colors, just like in every other technique, you're going to drop the old color halfway through the stitch and pick up the new one. Now with Intarsia, it's important to drop your yarn on the wrong side of the work so that you don't get these floats on the right side. So I'm dropping my yarn on the wrong side, picking up the other yarn, and here's where you'll see the float happen. I'm picking up the other yarn and I'm finishing the stitch with that. But look, that other yarn was way down here, and now I've moved it up to here. So it kind of makes that little line. I tend to, one thing I've always done is when I work the next stitch, I pick up that little line and work into it, just so that it doesn't travel across the green part at all. But that's just me. Okay, so now I've gotten to where I want the next color, right? So again, I drop this yarn in the front, pick up my next color, and start working, okay? And that's it. Now here's another spot where I would probably take that float and just stick my hook under it to kind of catch it up and hide it in the green section. But that is that is it for Intarsia. The main things to be careful of is always drop your yarn on the wrong side of the work. Detangle your yarns between rows, because when you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 7 balls of yarn attached, it can get pretty hairy. Now I did mean to have a sample to show you. I do have a couple projects I've worked in Intarsia. Unfortunately, now here I'm gonna close off the blue, and I'm just gonna go from dark green to light green. Unfortunately, I think I've given them all away. So I don't know what's happened to all of my samples, but I will definitely have a link in the video or in the comments to one of the patterns I did, which was one of my earliest patterns. It's a Poinsettia bottle cozy. So I'll have that link in the comments on the video. There we go. So that you can check out a sample if you want. I don't know where my actual sample was, so I couldn't show you. But I did that one in Intarsia. Honestly, I like tapestry better, so I haven't done all that much with Intarsia. But if I was working something with like 6 colors, yeah, I'm going to do Intarsia. So there we have it. We have now learned Intarsia, tapestry, and Fair Isle crochet. And that's all I have to share with you for today. So happy Thursday, have a good weekend, and I will see you back here next week. Bye.